Hi weaving friends, we are back with the Hobby Girl Loom. Now if you missed my last video that explained everything about this loom, go back and check that one out first. I'm going to leave a link for you so that you can do that. Now in that last video I mentioned that in one of the booklets for the Hobby Girl Loom it talked about tatami weaving, and that sent me on a little bit of an adventure of Googling to try and find out what they meant by tatami. The only thing that I could find was Japanese mat weaving that they call tatami weaving or tatami mats. But I figured out from what they were trying to say in the booklet that basically what they mean is a weft-faced weave. So with my first weave that I did on the Hobby Girl Loom, I made this pattern. Well, this is one of the patterns that I made, and you can see that it's quite open and balanced to really show off that pattern, and we don't beat too hard because otherwise you wouldn't be able to see the diamonds and all those lovely things. But for the tatami weaving, it gives you the instructions to beat it right down. So I've actually done a sample for the tatami and it came out like this. I used their booklet and I just did a variety of the patterns, the ones that really appealed to me the most, and this is what I came up with. So one major comparison between these two, well, probably the first comparison you'll notice is the difference in colour, that this one has fairly subdued colours and this one has very strong bold colours. So that's one thing about this tatami method is you want to have contrasting colours. They don't necessarily have to be super bold, but they do want to contrast so that you can see the pattern emerging. And then the other thing, of course, is the feel of the fabric. So this is quite a loose, soft, floppy fabric, and this one is stiff and weft face. So it's all weft, you can't see any warp. This plaited part here, that's the warp, in case you're wondering. So I did use some of the warp yarn as a colour within the weft as well. But apart from that, say up in this section, you can't see any warp at all. It's completely covered. And that makes, just like any weft face weave, makes a stiff fabric that is great for things like placemats and mug rugs and that type of thing. This kind of fabric is more flexible, and then you're more about the patterning the design rather than making design through colour and smooshing them together. Okay, so I'm going to display a bit of this tatami weaving on this loom today. As I said, make sure you go back and check out the other video because in that one I actually warp the loom, and so all of this kind of makes sense. If you haven't seen a loom like this before, like I hadn't when my friend sent it to me, I was like, what on earth is this cylinder thing? And I had to read through the booklet to find out how it works. And it's really, really cool how it works, but I had to find that out. So if you check out the last video and see how I set that up, I've already set up the warp for this video, so we don't have to go through all of that again. But in case you're interested, the way that I have set it up is, and there are a bunch of different ways that you can set up for this tatami weaving according to their booklet, but the threading that I did is 4-3-2-1, 4-3-2-1, which is basically a straight draw twirl, 4 shafts. So this is the booklet that we have, the advanced project book it says, and there's a variety of the designs that are similar to what I already did on the front, but then on the inside it also explains more about it and it gives you some more patterning possibilities depending on the threading that you do. But one of the basic ideas of doing this is to contrast colours between each other back and forth to build pattern. So for some of the patterns you only use 2 colours, some you might use 3 depending on the pattern. But for this one that's on the back of the booklet, you can use a bunch of colours to make the pattern that way. So something that I struggled with quite a bit with this booklet is that the numbers that they have on the charts, which you need to read, are absolutely minuscule, at least for my almost 50-year-old eyes. So In the absence of a magnifying glass, I know we do have a magnifying glass somewhere, but I couldn't find it. So what I did is I grabbed my phone and I zoomed right in on these individual charts, and then that worked. So I can actually read the numbers quite easily from my phone. So I'm going to be referring to my phone for the patterning. Okay, I've got a bunch of colors next to me, and I'm just going to wind off color as I need it. I'm not going to, I've already got some of this one on the shuttle, so I'll keep that on there. But I'm not going to put the others on the shuttle because it's just, there are too many weft colors that I want to change between. And I've only got 2 shuttles that came with this loom. Even if I got together my shuttles from my other looms, still wouldn't be enough. So we will just go with winding little bits off. Also, you know, I might not be using that much of a specific yarn at one time, and then I'll be swapping to another yarn. So it's not really worth all of the trouble of going on 2 shuttles. So that's how I'm going to manage it anyways, just by winding some off. All right, so starting according to the pattern, it has at the bottom, I'm starting from the bottom and working to the top. So it's got the threading at the bottom, which is all fine and good because I've already done that part. And then it's got the numbers up the side, and the numbers are colored, which is really handy because it tells you what color you should be doing basically. So the first one is a number 4, and it's a green. So I'm not going to use a green, I'm going to use a purple, but it doesn't matter, you know, if you use the same colors or not. And I need to be on number 4. So I'm going to turn the cylinder to number 4. And that's going to be my first weft. I'm just noticing now, it looks like I doubled up here. I'm not sure how I managed that because these are all threaded fine, but I've got a double in here. Okay, I'm just going to have to go with that. The warp's going to be covered anyway, so it should work out all right. And then I've got an 8 also in green, so I'm going to move to 8. Take that back through. And I need to increase my tension a little bit. So the tensioning, if you remember from my last video, is just pushing these in and pulling towards you until you've got the level of tension you require. Okay, so that's those 2 picks, and I'm just going to beat them down. Obviously I haven't done any warp separation or anything there, so I'm just going to beat right down to the comb, the separator comb here, and that'll be fine. So that's all that I'm actually doing for that color at the moment. So I'm going to cut that, and I can work those ends in. Wherever. Yep, and then I'm going to do 4 and 8 again, but I'm changing color, and this is a basic pattern, this one. Some of the others get more complicated as we go. So this is going to be like my contrast color. I'm going to refer back to this one, but I'm going to be swapping these pattern colors as I go. So 4 and 8. Easy to remember. And then I'll go back to 4 again, ready for the next pick. Okay, so I'm going to beat that right down. So this is the difference between the last type of weaving we did. When we brought in the comb, we weren't beating it right down. And that's what a weft face weave is. I'm going to leave that yarn in place there, and I'm going to carry it up the side because I'm going to keep going back to it. Okay, and then we change colors again. So I could change to whatever I like. Let's see, I think I will change to blue. Okay, I only need a couple of rows, so it doesn't really matter if I'm tangled. So I already changed to 4. And then I'm going to go to 8. just tucking the tails in for the sake of neatness. I'm not really making anything here, I'm just doing a sample. I just really wanted to show you all this technique. It's very striking. Then I'll go back to the 4 again, ahead of swapping the colours, and smush that down. Then I'll come back to this, what on earth do you call this colour? It's a greyish, grey with a bit of blue in it kind of thing. Can't remember the name of the colour, Moon Shadow or something, maybe. Okay, so 4. And then 8. A few of you told me in the after the last video that I did that you actually either have one of these looms or you managed to find one at a thrift store or an op shop, which is pretty cool that they're still around, they're still out there. I'm happy to know that people are finding them still. Alright, this time I'm going to use a lighter blue. And yeah, a lot of people who have found them in thrift stores, they find them in the original box. And they're in perfect condition. And they have all the booklets and all the tools, which is really great. It's really, it's just so thrilling when you find something like that. 4 and then 8. Tuck that tail through. And some people bought them in the 80s and the 90s when they were available, and they just have them stored somewhere. Maybe the grandkids have used them or whatever, and you've still got them. Hold on to them, look after them. Okay, so back to this greyish colour for 4 and then 8. I also mentioned in the last video that you can actually do longer warps on this loom. There are instructions in the booklets for how to do that, because it's a fairly small amount of weaving from here to here if that's all you do. Alright, I'll do another one that is a brighter colour orange, and then we might swap to a yellow after that, and then move on to the next pattern, because this one's pretty straightforward. Four and then 8. Yeah, there's not a lot of variation with this one. All you're really doing is changing the colours and then changing between those numbers 4 and 8. Very simple to achieve. I also mentioned in the last video that these are kids' looms, but I think it would actually be quite difficult for a kid to set up. The threading is a little bit of a learning curve. Like, once you understand how it's all working, it's no problem at all. It's super quick to warp. But it can be a little bit fiddly too with all of these discs. So a child, depending on the age of the child, I think would need a bit of help, at least initially. I guess it's what you'd call, what I would think of as an intelligent toy. It doesn't really feel like a toy when you're using it, because it can do so much. Alright, and then, what did I say? I'll do some yellow. This yellow that I have, I only have one type of yellow yarn, because I just don't tend to use yellow all that much. And it's a fingering weight. So the others that I'm using, I didn't even talk about my yarns, did I? The others that I'm using are a DK weight. All of these are DK weight. And so this one's a fingering weight, so I'm going to double it up. Hopefully I cut enough there. I think I'll be fine. So you can do that as well. If you've got a yarn that you really like the colour of, but it's not the right thickness, double it up, triple it up if you need to. We can do that kind of thing. All right, back to 4. And just tuck those tails away. And then I'll finish off with my greyish colour in a 4 and 8. And then we shall move on. I'm aiming to do a few patterns. And all I'm really going to be doing in this video is just weaving and showing you how the patterns look. So if that's dull to you, you can skip ahead to just see the patterns or whatever. Okay. Very nice. Got a good variety of colours there. Let's go on to the next pattern. So the next one is a little more complex in that we use different numbers on the cylinder, and we're swapping between colours a bit, yeah, a little bit, but we're still using the same principle of having like a main or a background colour and then a contrast colour. So I'm going to start with my contrast colour, and I'm doing 4 and 8 again. I'm going to need to rewind this shuttle shortly. 4 and 8. I experimented when I was doing my sample with like doing one pick and then beating it down, and then doing the next one and beating it down. But I found that it made no real difference whether I did that or whether I did 2 picks and beat them down. So that's what I'm doing. Now I go to number 2. And now I have to look at my edges because I've changed the numbers that I was using, which changes the sheds. And so if I go straight into this shed, I'm not going to wrap around that outer warp. Easy solution is just to go over that warp and then into the shed, and then it's going to catch on the edge. This happens very, very frequently with twills. Okay, so 2 and then 6. We are, yes, 6 of the same colour. And again, no, I'm going to be okay for the edge thread this time, so I can go straight in. All right, our next shed will be an 8, so I'm going to go to that now. The reason I go to the next shed before I beat down as well is just a personal preference. I just like the way it beats in, nice and firmly. If I leave the shed open, then I don't get such a firm beat. Personal thing, not technical. Let's see, what colour shall I use? I'm going to go back to that purple, I think. I've got a little bit of it here left over, so we will just jump on that and use it. So this time I'm doing the 8. I'm doing 1 pick of purple. I'm going to leave that there because I'm going to come back to it. And then I'm going to change to number 4. I'm going to just tuck that tail. See, I'd have a lot of tails hanging off if I didn't tuck them in. So again, that's a personal preference. You can needle weave them in afterwards if you prefer. And then on my number 4, I'm using my background weft. Then I'll go to 6 again, and I'm going to beat. Pull those tails in. That one actually needs to come through a bit more. Okay, 4 and then 6, and so we're on 6 now. And then we go to number 2 for that background fabric, background yarn, sorry. And I better go in that way or I'll lose my end. the next one is a 4, and that's going to be the purple again. So we'll beat that now. I'm getting some loops with my background weft, so I just want to pull that a little tighter. It's a bit of a balance between pulling too far and not far enough, because if you start pulling in a lot, then you're going to get a lot of drawing. If you don't pull enough, you're going to get loops. So it's just trying to balance that out. So we come back in with the purple. And then we finish up that part with the 8. Alright, and then the next shed is going to be a 2 and then a 6, and they're going to be in the background fabric. So I'm going to go to the 2. I'm going to cut my purple now because I'm done with that for now. And I can tuck that in and away. But I do need to wind more of this background yarn, so I'll do that now. Just make my slip knot. The same as any other shuttle like this, a stick shuttle that I use. I'll just do a figure 8. Now I have to choose my next contrast colour that I want to use. And something I could do is use a progression of colours the same as what I did down here. And that would kind of tie it all in together because I'll be moving through the same colours. Could be nice. Let's try it. So the next colour that I used down there was a blue, a strong blue. I won't put too much on because this loom does have fairly slim sheds, and as you weave up towards the cylinder they get slimmer. So you don't want a really thick shuttle. Alright, so we were going to do a 2 and a 6. I'm on 2 right now. I'll move to 6. And a 6, and then I'm going to go to 8, and for the 8 I need the next colour, so I decided to do blue, and that's what we'll do. I've got this tangle of blue here. There we go. Most tangles just need a little bit of coaxing, a bit of patience. Most of the time they will come out. So don't despair if you get tangles. Okay, number 8, I'll come in from this side. Doesn't matter which side I come in from, but I'm just distributing tails on either side to avoid that kind of build up that can happen. So we do the 8 and then we go to 4. Pop that tail in. And for the 4 we're going to use the background weft. And then the next one is going to be a 6. So we go to the 6 and then I'll beat. And the 6 is going to be my blue yarn again. I'll have to go Yep, I'll have to go around that edge to catch it. And then I follow that up with a 2. This cylinder, it goes backwards, it goes forward, which is convenient because you can get to the number that you need sooner that way. Two, and then we're going to go to the 4 right there. I'm going to beat, and then my blue again. I'm going to have to go around that warp edge again. That warp edge is actually pretty loose, which is not ideal. I'm going to have a look at that in a sec. And then 8 with the background weft. Let's pop that under there so the edges can catch on each other. Okay, 4, then 8, and then 2 and 6. The 2 and 6 is going to be the background weft, both of them. Alright, let me have a look at why this has gotten so loose. I want to check. No, I thought maybe one of the loops back here might have come off because you see they're on these little hooks. But no, that's not the case. So what I'm going to do is just try tightening a little from the back. So the same tightening device is at the back as the front. You push the knobs in and you turn it backwards to either increase the tension or you turn it towards you to release tension. Okay, that's a little bit better, but obviously that's from the warping, because when I began warping, I began from this side. And so I think, oh yes, and also this knot down here, I've just noticed that this knot has come free of the hook. But yeah, it makes sense that if you begin on one side that your tension is going to be tighter by the time you finish up this side. So that's something to look out for when you're warping. Also look out for the knots that you've made. See if they've come undone like they're not supposed to. But I'm just re-knotting that. I'm going to double it up a couple of times. Okay, so now we're running 2 and 6 with the background weft. If there are some discrepancies in audio in this video, I apologize. It is a new system that I'm getting used to. I was actually recording before and realized that I had not turned my microphone on because it's a new microphone, it's a new way of turning it on. It's going to take a bit of getting used to. It's a fantastic system, but I'm just going to have to get used to it. So I hope the audio is okay. All right, and the next one, so I've done the 2 and 6, so I'm going to do 8 and 4 again. So I've gone on to 8, now I choose my next colour, so I'm going to follow that progression that I had down there. So I'm going to bring this one back in. Oh, I've got some wound off already. That's convenient. So 8, then 4, tuck the tail, oh, hang on. Yeah, made a mistake there. The 4 is meant to be the background weft. It's okay, I realized in time. Forgot what I was doing for a moment. So the 8 and then the 4 and then it's 6. So even though we have more steps with this pattern, we're still following the same progression of 8, then 4, then 6, then 2, then 4, then 8, then 2, then 6. you know, it's the same kind of progression over and over, and that gives us these cool diagonal lines. And then I'm doing 2. So this is my follow-up pick with my background weft. And then I'm going to do 4 with my coloured weft. And then 8 with my background. And I want to cut that yarn because am I done with that? I'm not done with that. I've only done 2 of those, so hang on, I'm getting ahead of myself. So 4, then 8. I think I actually skipped one. Let's see. I'm going to press down. Yes, so I've skipped the last step somehow. So that one was 4 and 8. If you make a mistake, the best thing to do is backtrack to what you last did. All right, so I did 4 and 8. I think I was meant to do 6 and 2, or yeah, let's try that. 6. Now I'm just going to beat that so I can see, is that correct? That looks better. Yes. So 6 and then 2. And then after the 6 and 2, I can do my 4 and 8. I just got a little bit ahead of myself. But that's okay because we have unweaving. Unweaving's not necessarily what I would call fun, but at least it means we can make our mistakes disappear. Okay, 4 and then 8. And then we do the 2 and 6 again. So beat. Now I've got my little diagonals. Good. I can cut that colour, finish with that one now, keep my background weft. Tuck that in. And then I finish up with a 2 and 6 in the background weft. So that's little kind of separated diagonal lines, which is really interesting. But I think we'll go on to another pattern now. I don't want to run out of space before I've shown you a bunch of the patterns. So we'll leave that as it is and we'll go on. This one's a kind of a variation on what we were just doing. So we're going to make the diagonals again, but then we're going to turn them to make some zigzags. This is a really fun one. All right, so still using my color progression from down here because I didn't go right through it yet. So I'm going to start with the orange and I need number 8. And then I need 4. And the number 4 is going to be my background weft. Still having issues with that loose warp there, which is really annoying because I re-knotted it, but now it's like I have to re-knot it again. All right, hope that stays put a little bit better this time. So 8 and 4 to begin with, and then a 6 and 2, and I'm alternating between those 2 yarns again. Six and then 2. Now that doubled up warp thread that I mentioned at the beginning right here doesn't seem to be impacting on anything, so that's good. Then we go to 4. So you see we're still doing our diagonal lines. The 4's orange. And then we do a 6 for the background weft. Then we have a 2 for the next orange. And then a 6 for the background. Trying to keep those edges a little bit loose. And then we go to 4 again. I'll bash that down. So orange is the 4. And then 8. Then we're going to do 6. So this weaving sequence is a bit longer, obviously, because we not only do the diagonals this way, we then turn them back that way. This is the first turnaround row. You might be able to see that. We're making a kind of an arrow shape. Okay, so 6. And 2. And then 8. Yeah, I like this pattern. 8 and then 4 to finish off with. And that's all for the orange colour. So then I will start back at the beginning of that sequence, which was a 2. I'll get rid of the little bit of orange that I've got left there and tuck that in. And then I'm going to bring in the yellow for the next set of arrows. Remember, I'm doubling up my yellow. So 2. And then I'm just going to go through that whole sequence again. So I won't show you the whole lot, but I'll just show you the start of the yellow so that you can see the direction it starts to take. So I've got a 6 after that. And the 6 is going to be with the background weft. This is pretty yarn heavy, pretty weft heavy, as you can imagine, because you're smushing it down. And you can see from all of that weaving that we've done, we've only got a small portion that's characteristic of weft faced weaving, of course, because we are packing that yarn right down. And so it takes a lot of rows to build that up. Then we go to 8. So let me beat that down. And then to 4 for the background. Then 6. So you can see that the line has started to turn back that way again. 6. Yes. Bringing the yellow back in for the 6. And then the 2 for the background again. Then it's a 4. And then, let's see, need to do my number 4 pick first. Or I'll get ahead of myself again. 4 and then 8. We finish that off with. And then we cut this and we change that weft colour again. So we've got a bunch of yellows going that way now. And then we go to the 2 again. So following my colour progression from down here, that means I would go back to the purple now, which I will do. The purple's not all that thick actually. I think this must be, yeah, actually I think this is a sports weight. That just came to me. I didn't really think about it before, but that's okay. I've been using it, so I will keep rolling with it. I could double it up, but I'm not going to. I'm just not. So 2 and then a 6. So I'll keep going with this one, and then I can give you a nice look afterwards of how it turned out with a few more colours in, and then we'll take a look at another pattern. We might take a look at just one more pattern. There are lots more patterns to try, but this video could get extremely, extremely long. So we might leave it at the next pattern, I think. So I'll see you in a moment when I've done a little more of this. Okay, next pattern. We're going to do away with the background weft for now, and I've got 2 different colours to have contrasting, to do some blockish kind of colours. So we're going to start with number 4. Oops, took it right through. And then number 8 for the contrasting colour. Do a little tuck. And again, I'll just bring it in from this side just to distribute the tails. And then we're going to do 4 and 8 again with the exact same colours. Just tuck in that orange tail. So then I'll do my blue again. I'll have to go over that edge in order to catch it. 4, then 8. Over this edge as well. And then we're going to repeat that again, 4 and 8. So I think you can see already where I'm going with this. Four, nope. Back. So 4, and 8, eight's always a really small shed. And then yet again, 4 and 8. I guess you could repeat that as many times as high as you wanted your columns to go. All right. 4 and 8. And then back to 4 again. So at this point, you'd have a couple of choices. You can bring in a new set of colors. You keep going with the 4 and 8, that doesn't change, but you could bring in a new set of colors, or you could do what I'm going to do right now and swap the colors over. So previously I was doing a blue weft on the number 4. Now I'm going to do an orange on the 4 and a blue on the 8. Then I'll go back to 4. And so you see we get a kind of a swapping over. So with the 4, again, I'm going to use orange, go around that warp edge there. And then 8. Back to 4. And then orange again. 8 is blue. And then 4 again. And I'll do that one more time and then it will match up with the first little bit that we did. And so if I alternated between these colors again, then I would get a kind of checkerboard effect. But I do want to do a couple of other color combinations just to make our piece all the more striking. Okay, so that's all, they're all the same now, the same amount. So I can cut those colors and then choose another couple of colors. What will I choose? I'm still going between 4 and 8, so I'm set on the 4. Let's see. I will do some of this nice green that's tending to blue. Oh, I don't know, what do you call that? A green or a blue? This always puzzles me. I guess that looks more blue at the moment, but you can see on the ball that I've got green coming, so I'm like, is this greeny blue or is it just blue? Or all right, who cares? Let's say who cares? It's a nice color, we'll use it. That'll do. That's good enough for me. I'll wind off a bit of that before it turns green. There we go, it's just starting to turn green. Actually, that could be a really nice effect. Let's wind a little bit more so we can see it turning from the green to the more bluish color. And we will contrast that with, let's do some purple. I feel like I really ought to do 2 strands of this purple. I reckon we'll give that a try because it's really pretty thin. As I said before, I'm pretty sure it's a sports weight, whereas the others are a DK weight. All right, I'll make a little bowl with that one. Okay, so we're on the 4. Well, I might as well just use that purple instead of putting it down. Another thing I was going to say with a technique like this, it's very, very open to you doing your own thing. And we might actually do that in a moment after I finish this second checkerboard kind of progression. We might actually have a play around with just doing something really random and seeing how it turns out. Because that's fun. Okay, so I'm back to 4. Oh yeah, purple and green, love it. Purple and green should always be seen, that's what I say. It is going to turn to blue in a moment though, but that'll be nice too. So yeah, we're on 4 again. And take that through. And then on to 8. Oh, come on. I did end up winding off a bigger ball than I intended there because I wanted to get that bit of green in there. All right, back to 4. Imagine the striking mug rugs and things you could make with something like this, and you could do every mug rug the same, or you could make each one different, or you could do a kind of theme of pattern or color that ties them all in together, but each one's a little bit different. So much you can do. Okay, back to 4. Well, these colours certainly pop against each other, don't they? How many have I done there? I think I've done 3. So I'll do 4 repeats like I did with my orange and blue here. And then I will swap the colours, keeping the same progression. So 4 and then 8. Back to 4. So now instead of the purple for the 4 like I have been using, I'm going to swap over to this greeny blue. You know, I'm starting to doubt that we're actually going to make it to the blue colour because the green, there's a lot of green. There's more green than I intended, I think. That's okay. The green looks great with the purple anyway. So it works out either way. That's 8, and I'll just pop under that first warp thread. Back to 4. There we go, swapped colours. I just love that moment of just the visual impact of having swapped and going, ooh. And then you could make more patterns out of that. You could swap the colours back again and then keep going with the original progression. More and more options. The more you explore, the more there is to explore. 8. And when you're going back and forth between sheds like this, just back between 8 and 4, 8 and 4, you don't have to memorize or look at anything to try and follow along. Then you have a lot of freedom with the color because you can focus more on that than on the actual sheds that you're making. Okay, back to 4. Are we going to get any blue? No, I don't think we are. But I will use this greeny blue in the next section that I have left when we do some random stuff. That's a good compromise. Then I still get to use it. Yeah, I'm nearly out of purple. Will I be able to get one more row of purple in to complete the sequence? We shall see. This is Yarn Chicken on a Loom. Okay, one more of this. And then one more of the purple. Come on, purple, you can do it. Oh yes, it's going to make it. I love it when that happens. You just got the exact right amount. Love it. Okay, so that is our checkerboard type thing, if that's what you want to call it. Some of these yarns are pressing down more than others in different parts, so it's a little bit uneven in parts. And that also has to do with my tension issue on this side, thanks to that initial thread. All right, so let's do some fun random stuff, shall we? I'm going to start with this, and I'm just going to, I don't know, go to 1, because we haven't really used shed 1 in these examples, have we? No, I don't think so, not that I can remember. And the only thing is I'm going to be wanting to change between colours. So I'm going to try 1 and 3. What colour do I have? I've got some blue handy, so we'll just reach for that. Perfect way to use up little scraps you've got left over lying around still. So 1 and 3, and then we'll do 5. Let's beat that. Five with this bluish green, mostly green. Where are we going? 5 and 7. Oh, my sheds are getting smaller, especially the odd sheds I noticed. That's not the case with shed 8, but still. All right, let's see how we're going there. Oh, that's nice. It's kind of like a twisty diagonal effect. Let's do another sequence of that so that we can build up a little more pattern, because you always need a little more to, you know, have a good idea of how it's going to actually look. So 1 and 3. Are you up or down? Come on. Some of the threads are like undecided. Yeah, that's better. Now I can see properly. 1 and 3. and then 5 and 7. Oh, I like that. Seven is going to be my blue. Then I'm almost out of blue, so I'll decide what to do next. Oh, I can get some more blue. There's still some more there. All right, I'll go back to 1. Yeah, I'm going to do one more repeat of that because I think that's nice. Sometimes you've got to turn the cylinder a little bit more to make the shed clearer. So 1 and 3. Five. Come on, 5. Show me where you're at. Of course, it would be easier if I was actually using a shuttle too, instead of sticking my hands in there. And then 7, and that should use up that blue quite nicely. Okay, great. I'll cut that one off as well. Up until now, I've used all solid colors, but I've got this lovely variegated yarn here, and I'm going to give that a shot paired with the solid color of the purple and see how that goes. So I'm going to loosely follow one of the patterns in the book, but loosely, just to start building it up. So I'm starting on 4. And I've got my purple doubled again, and then I'm going to go to 8, and then I'll bring in my variegated. I'll take it in the opposite side. Yeah, it's getting harder to weave now because I'm getting up near the top. I want to make the most of the warp, so we'll just see how it goes. And then we've got a 2. Always interesting weaving with a variegated yarn because you just get so many colours and you can't always predict the outcome. You can't predict the colour placement. It's going to be all over the place, so makes it interesting. That was 2, so this is 2, I should say. And then 6. Oh, it's getting tight. Okay, then we've got 8. I need to go into that shed over the warp edge thread. So I've got 8 and then 4. And then 6 and 2.
dear. It's tricky. And I could have wound this one on a shuttle too, because I'm only using these two colours this time. Then a 4. This is looking cool. So many different colours in that variegated yarn. Oh, I missed the edge thread there. It's okay, I'm going to leave it. Because we are doing weft face, it's going to be hidden anyway. And because it's only a sample piece. I'm a little bit lazy when it comes to sample pieces. I will take shortcuts. Now we're knotted. There we go. And then 2 and 6. I'm going to do the next 2 in just the variegated yarn. 2 and 6. Okay, then we'll go 8 and 4, and I'm going to do the 8 in this variegated yarn as well, and then do the 4 with the purple to swap it up a little bit. Then we'll do 6. And again, I'm using the variegated first. So the 6. And then 2. And then we go 4 and 8. So that kind of, it was having diagonal lines going up with, especially with the purple, you can see. And then that last bit sort of offsets it just slightly. So that's kind of a, it's like a zigzagging effect, but zigzagging on the same diagonal. So 4, and then 8 again, and then 8, and then 2. And then 6 with the purple. And then 8. And then 4. And then 6. I'm going to finish off with the purple there. I'm almost done with my weaving because I am running out of space. And so I'm just going to finish off with a couple of rows of that variegated again. 6 going over the warp thread at the edge. And 2. Then we'll go 4 and 8. Just going to finish off with a few rows of this. I might as well use up the yarn that I've still got here. So I hope you enjoyed seeing what's possible with the tatami or weft-faced weaving on the Hobby Girl Loom. Don't forget to check out the other video, as I already mentioned. And also check out my website, because I have a ton of articles there, like so many, and I've been working really hard at it. I've got a great lot of work there on heaps and heaps of weaving topics, and I'll leave that address down below, but to make it easy, it's www.kellycasanovaweavinglessons.com. Easy to remember, right? I've also got a heap of stuff on my website, like free printables to help you get set up with your looms, free patterns to get you weaving, just so much. So definitely check that out. And until next time, happy weaving!